closing in on 10 months since the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan rezoning that happened on October 29th, 2025. So since then, there have been some sales here. So this is essentially an update and kind of how the value of land is shaping out to be in the area. So this is my website. This is a blog I posted 2 days ago. Jamaica Queens rezoned, how affordable housing is impacting development site values. So essentially, for those of you who didn't know, in the rezoning, the city council essentially, to approve it, had to require that the area be have mandatory inclusionary housing, which is mandatory affordable housing, permanently affordable. So every large development site would be over 12,500 square feet and 10 units, has to include a certain amount of permanently affordable housing, and that's called mandatory inclusionary housing. This map shows you the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan and the mandatory inclusionary housing parts of that plan. So there's two of them. Well, there's one, but there's a portion that has options 1 and 3, and then a portion that has options 1, 2, and 3, and I'll explain that shortly. So, and those options, those requirements to build affordable housing is having a direct impact on the amount of money that a developer would pay or is willing to pay for a site in downtown Jamaica. So I'll just go through this. So what is mandatory inclusionary housing? MIH requires developers to permanently set aside a portion of residential floor area for affordable housing. Again, permanently set aside. The rent charged for these units is tied to the AMI, area median income. The lower the AMI, the lower the permitted rent. The area median income is set by HUD. Every year it changes, right? So you have in this area here for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan, you've got 3 options, okay? Technically there's 4, but it seems that 4th option, I don't think anyone, like the city council I don't think will ever approve that in any new rezoning. I wouldn't be surprised if they remove that 4th option soon. But for the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan rezoning, you've got 3 options, okay? So option 1 is 25% is a set aside of the affordable units, and they have to average 60% AMI, area median income. Option 2 is 30% affordable. So 30% of the units have to be set aside for an average of 80% AMI. And option 3, which is deep affordability, is 20% affordable at 40% AMI. So what does that mean for a basically your monthly rent? Like how much can the monthly rent be under these regulations? So for a 1-bedroom, and this is on the most recent AMI levels, 40% AMI, which is option 3, for a 1-bedroom would be $1,272 per month. 60% AMI, that's option 1, will be $1,908. $1,908. And option 2 is 80% AMI, and that would be $2,545. So you see that option 2 is the highest amount, and they still consider that affordable, right? So that it would make sense that most developers will pay more for option 2 if option 2 is included, right? Because the lower affordable rents reduce a project's potential rental income, which may directly affect how much a developer can pay for the land. So if you can get less rent on the back end, then you would assume that you would pay less for the land itself before the project begins. And that's really what's happening. So in downtown Jamaica, you have areas that have, like I mentioned earlier, you have some areas of the MIH that have options 1, 2, and 3. And again, 2 is essentially the best one. as far as it's not the best one for renters, but it's the best one for developers to pay a property owner the higher price, right? Um, so it's the best one for developers, which in terms it makes it the best one for an owner of a piece of property who's looking to sell there, or even self-develop. Again, if you can charge higher rents, obviously you have a better project. And then other parts of this MIH are only 1 in 3. So there are some sales here that have happened. Again, this rezoning happened about closing in on 10 months. Not quite a year yet, but there's some notable sales in the area since it's happened. And it's kind of shaping up to see where pricing, the new pricing discovery is starting to happen for this MIH, right? Which is again new to the area. This MIH was not here before October 29th of last year of 2025. So the first, I think, notable sale here is 14305. And by the way, all of these sales are development. At some point, they will be built up. These are not just sales for cash flow or retail or anything like that. These are all bought by a developer who, at some point in the near future, is going to develop these sites. This site, 14305 Remington Street, which is for those of you who know the area, this is Liberty Avenue in Remington. So you got the Van Wyck Expressway right here. This site sold in January, not too long after the rezoning, for $3.3 million, a little over $3.3 million. That worked out to $83 per buildable square foot. Now, what's important to understand with pricing and how development sites sell is that it's really based on the price per buildable square foot. So you may see a high number or a low number, but a developer is paying on the price of the buildable square feet because you have different zonings. You may have a 5,000 square foot lot that's zoned in a higher density to give you more buildable square feet. So that's how that works. It's not based on the lot size. It's based on how much you can build. So this sold for $83 in January. And if you notice, this has option 2, right? Then you've got this property here, 9230 165th Street, which is here. Now, again, this is Archer. So if you know the area, you know where it is. This is 165th Street in Archer. This is the parking garage that was owned by the Greater Jamaica Development Corporation. So they sold this in May of this year for $46 million. Now, obviously, $46 million is more than $3.3 million. However, it sold for less on a price per buildable square foot basis. This sold for $76. Now, technically, this was not in an MIH zone, right? Because it's literally right outside of it. Like that property is actually, it's right out. It's right here actually. This is it right here. So you see, this pink is the MIH. That property that sold for $46 million is right outside of it. It's still downtown Jamaica. It's still obviously, especially for the price point, a very notable sale that should be considered. So now, in theory, though, this doesn't have the affordable component. However, the buyer here is actually, it's actually workforce, not workforce, but it's actually the Resorts World Casino, and they're going to be building workforce housing. So there is a component there for affordable housing. And workforce housing is essentially, workforce housing is going to be like, it's kind of adjacent to affordable housing, but it has a higher threshold. So where, for example, workforce housing is going to be more in the 80% AMI, where more affordable, quote unquote, is going to be more in the 40 and 60s. So there is still an affordable component to this particular deal here, even though it's not in the MIH, right? So as I think about it, it's kind of more in line with an option 2 because it's that workforce does give generally a higher AMI versus the lower ones. So you've got this at $76. Again, pretty big sale. Then you've got another site also sold in May. Now this site is 8928 165th Street. So if you look here, that address is here. This is Merrick Boulevard. This is 165th Street. This is 89th Avenue, 165th Street. This is the Coliseum Mall, which is, as last time I checked, was currently for sale. This section, this part, this is actually a different property, even though the roof is shared. Coliseum Mall has since closed since February of 2026, but they used to share a roof. This is a separate owner. And this sold for $18.5 million. But if you look, it only sold for $55 per buildable square foot. And going back to what I'm saying, this has no option 2. Now, if you go back up, you will see that option 2 is the one that gives the highest rent. Option 1 and 3, which by the way, a developer can choose which one to use here of what's available. So if this area only has 1 and 3, they only have 60 or 40. You cannot choose option 3 because it's not available. That's predetermined. So this one sold for 55. And again, these are the areas here. So this section here of the Jamaica Neighborhood Plan, this is Hillside Avenue, this is Jamaica and Archer. Oh, this is Archer, and that's south of Archer. There's a couple portions here south of Archer that's still 1 and 3, but most of it, especially when you go below Liberty Avenue here, is all 1, 2, and 3. So you do get that higher rent, potential rent, I should say. So again, this is a blog post that I did, and my take is an option where the options in Jamaica, this is obviously specific for the downtown Jamaica rezoning. So in the downtown Jamaica rezoning, my take is that with 1 and 3, and this is also based on, I have a couple listings in the area based on offers that I've gotten on those listings, based on conversations that I've had with buyers and other brokers. And also just kind of where I see based on models that I've run as well, that the price per buildable is really coming in for options 1 and 3 at about $70 to $80. Now, obviously, it's obviously a range, but it can also, plus or minus, right? Then for options 1, 2, and 3, so you're including that option 2, you're including the ability to collect a higher rent for that portion of the quote unquote affordable portion of it. With option 2, I see prices coming in at $80 to $90 per buildable square foot. Now, again, it's still very general. It still has to be very site specific. That will depend on other characteristics of the property. For example, lot size sites with 5,000 square feet of a lot size are generally more attractive, right? Especially when you're doing in a rental market. You need to have at least that much is more ideal. You can do smaller. You can do, 3,000 square feet, like a 30 by 100, even a 20 by 100. But those are way less attractive, especially in a rental market like Jamaica. For developers, you want to have at least something where you can quote unquote stretch your legs. 5,000 square feet is generally more attractive and better, obviously. Frontage, so where it faces, the width of the site on the street. Larger frontage generally is better, right? So at a 5,000 square foot lot, you would assume that it's 50 feet frontage on that street and 100 deep, right? Gives you 5,000, 50 by 100, right? 100 by 100 would be even better. So the frontage also makes a difference. A corner site is for example, this guy here. This is a corner site, right here where the garage was. Corner sites are great because you can utilize essentially the full footprint of the corner. The lot coverage is generally going to be 100%, and you have better ability to have better light and air, windows essentially all around, at least on two sides. It's just it's a better site, right? It gives you a better end product via on a corner or a block through. A block through is when it goes through, which actually this was a block through. If you look at this site here, this is called a block through. So it goes down technically 165th Street, excuse me, 165th Street for those who know the area. This really isn't, it's a street, but it's primarily pedestrian, although you do see cars here. Cars can go down the street, but it's primarily pedestrian, right? This is where all the shops were. Since then, this is gone. So this picture, where's Google? This has got to be, since this is probably 2025, this picture. This is the old bus terminal, which has since been demolished. They are going to be putting up a residential building here, and the bus terminal is coming back. That's confirmed. It's on public record that the MTA is going to be leasing space from the developer to bring back the bus terminal after they build. As of this recording, I have not seen any plans of what they're building as far as specific plans, but it will be residential, mixed use essentially. This bottom floor is going to be the bus terminal, right? And then on top of that's going to be residential. It'll be interesting how they put that together, but it's obviously possible. And this is a new development. This used to be also a parking lot. This is Ruby Square. And right below that is going to be this temporary bus terminal. This is where the buses now that used to go here are now going. And again, I would assume that this will probably be back in another 2 to 3 years after they build this. So what I was saying was, again, this is a block through site. That's also very desirable to have a block through site or a corner, right? So again, this is the Coliseum here, and this is the site that's sold for 18.5, which is $55 per buildable square foot. So yeah, so those things will, kind of give a site more desirability and have, you'll be able to sell for more. But again, there are caps here. The market is starting to speak. This market is my area of primary focus. And it's been a little challenging, honestly, because what has happened is, because of this MIH zoning, buyers, they just can't pay a certain amount of money. They can't go beyond a certain amount. The economics just stop making sense, right? After you reach a certain threshold. It's all about dollars and cents here. So a developer can't pay X amount just because it's a good location, it's near transit, you can build X amount, like they get that. But if the price doesn't make sense, they're going to pass. And so there's a certain amount of price discovery that's been happening in the past 10 months after the rezoning to get to these numbers. And that's why I'm pretty confident that these numbers here are what they will be, right? Moving forward. Again, maybe plus and maybe minus, but in the general area, it's going to be $70 to $80 per billable on MIH 1 and 3, and 80 to 90 if you include option 2, right? So, like I said, it's been a little bit challenging in this market. And also the fact that, so you've got buyers who kind of have capped what they're willing to spend, but sellers are expecting more, especially because of all the media attention to the rezoning. And the rezoning, did affect a lot of property as far as getting more buildable square footage favorably. So you're able to actually get more buildable square footage. But the issue is that it's kind of being suppressed. The price per buildable square foot is being suppressed by the requirement to add permanently affordable housing. And that's these MIH options, which is called mandatory inclusionary housing. So again, this is 10 months in after it. This is, I don't live too far from this area. I went to school here. Like, this is an area that I know very well. And this is one of the area of focus for me. I think I'm going to expand as well, but this is, as of this video, like a primary area of focus for me. You can go to my website, ccdrealestate.com, and you can see this. I'll leave a link to it as well. And yeah, that's it. I hope this gave some insight and some valuable information into what's going on here in the neighborhood, and some at least some understanding as to why prices are and what's going on. So stay tuned. I do plan on making more videos like this. Okay, take care.